Welcome to the Third Generation Wrestling Podcast with your hosts, Eric and Rob.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Third Generation Wrestling Podcast. 3GW. Saturday night, doing a retrospective podcast. I'm your host, Mr. Eric, joined by my co-host, Mr. Rob. How you doing, sir? How's your vacation treating you?
Vacation's good. They always go too quick, but I've got another week, so I'm happy about that.
That's what's up. You done anything fun yet? I know it's hard to do fun stuff in the time we live in, but maybe.
Yeah, as far as anything outdoors, not really much. But I'm a big Christmas person, so I love watching Christmas movies, Christmas specials, and so I've been doing a lot of that. Something I can do indoors, and it's fun this time of year.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm late. I just put my tree up today, and did some outdoor decorations. We've been working on this house a lot. We got a lot done today, though. The wife and her mom, they took care of the kitchen. I installed a new doorbell, put together some chairs. I mean, it's just been crazy. But we're just trying to get it set up like we live here.
Oh, yeah.
And we are joined by AEW's finest. MJ Book, what's going on?
Feeling good, man. This is just a great day. Birds chirping, just everything is just a great day.
So you got a date tonight. Let's see all is well because you were all smiles.
Yes, this was a very fun night.
And then the other night, of course, your boy, dethroned. I don't know if I would say Moxie's my boy per se. I just enjoyed the character, but I still have to watch the whole match. I started it, but I didn't finish it. So
the best in the world is now the best in the world and champion.
The best of the world thing shall be debated one day. But we are here to talk about a retrospective suggested by a listener, and we are doing Wrestlemania 13, held from right here in Chicago. Since they're in Chicago, about 15 miles out of Chicago, in Rosemont, the old Rosemont Horizon, aka now Allstate Arena. It looked bigger in this setting for some reason. I guess because the entranceway was so much smaller, so they were able to fill more seats. Maybe that's why. But I know in the past, Allstate always looked decent size until I actually went to it, and I was like, "This is it. This was like a auditorium almost. It's so small." No, Rob, you can attest. I don't know because I was used to going to Chicago Bulls games. And United Center seats 25,000 people for the basketball court. And Allstate seats 14,000. So very, very big difference. This was also my first time watching this show. I had never seen this WrestleMania. I had never seen and y'all are going to be like, what? I had never seen the Bret Hart Stone Cold match in its entirety. I've seen, portions of it here and there, but I had never seen it in its entirety. So that was something I was glad this was chosen for that reason. I had never seen Sid Vicious versus Undertaker. I hadn't seen that at all. So, like I said, I was a WCW guy. So, but you two going back and revisiting this, I'll be curious. I guess we'll talk about it as we go through the show. But any different feelings on the show now versus back then. So I'll start with you, Book.
My feelings are just the same as they were then. It. I don't want to show my hand too early, but this is one of those WrestleManias. I think I've said it before on a show, so I can at least say this. This is one of those WrestleManias I remember constantly. I remember this one for a couple of reasons.
I think I would agree with that. There were a couple of matches that I didn't remember, but obviously there were a couple of standouts, including one exceptional match on this card that I'll never elevated by the two matches that I spoke about, one especially, and we'll get into it.
Yes, sir. And this was the first time I watched a pay-per-view with Vince. I can't help it. Because Honky Tonk Man, Vince McMahon, Vince McMahon,
Mr. McMahon.
Because I know, Book in the past we talked about Jesse Ventura's, how he would say McMahon, but this was funnier. That Mike Man. Who is Mike Man? I just thought that was hilarious.
Didn't usually see Honky Tonk at the table, and that was probably a good thing.
I actually thought he was brilliant on commentary. I thought it was very entertaining. Not to get ahead of myself, but so we open up the show and we get our first match is the 4-team elimination number 1 contenders match. And right off the bat, so it's the Godwins with Hillbilly Jim versus the Headbangers versus Doug Fumas and I got their names wrong. Fumas and LaFont and the new Blackjacks. And I did not know that JBL was a freaking Blackjack. And I'm like, he looks like a damn idiot with this mustache.
With Barry Windham.
Well, yeah.
Can't forget about Barry. But
I knew Barry from WCW. But I thought this was a decent way to kick off the show. I hadn't seen the Headbangers in a while, so it was nice to see them. I never was a fan of their gear, so to speak, but I thought Fumas was the best athlete in the match. I had never heard of Fumas and LaFont, and I was still like trying to get over how ridiculous JBL looked. I noticed, Mike Chioda was the referee, and then Phineas he was Midian, right, from the Godwins.
Yep.
Midian, right? Oh yeah.
Yep, Godwin. Yep.
Yeah.
Pretty much at the end of the day, Mosh wins with the bombs away on Phineas, and the Headbangers pick up the win and become the number 1 contenders. This was a difficult match to kind of keep up with. I'm trying to I'm really paying attention to try to figure out who's who, and because a lot of these people I wasn't familiar with. So I still enjoyed it though. I thought it was enjoyable, but still somewhat average. I gave it a C+. I don't know, but I think a lot of this just has to do with my lack of knowledge of the WWF at the time. So, Rob, what'd you think?
Well, look, I'm with you. I gave it a C+ as well. So, don't attribute it to your lack of knowledge. To me, it was just about a C+ match. I had forgotten. I believe they're called the Can-Am Express. LaFon and Furnace.
Well, they messed up because they came out and they pulled up the Headbangers again when they came out. I don't know if you caught that. But
their names. Yeah.
But these guys I had completely forgotten about. And as far as I know, they never really made much of themselves. Either that or I missed it because, I don't remember these guys. So, but the match itself was just okay. I got a kick out of seeing JBL's the Blackjack. Barry Windham, obviously that wasn't his real mustache either, but his father was one of the original Blackjacks, Blackjack Mulligan. So that's kind of why they followed along with that gimmick. It never really worked because, like you said, they just looked ridiculous in those fake mustaches. The match itself, okay. I wasn't a big headbanger fan, but their gear didn't bother me because that's part of. They were kind of a metal thrash grunge type of. That was their thing, so their gear kind of matched with that. The whole mosh pit thing they would do kind of got on my nerves, and the little slam dance they would do, but I thought the match was just slightly above average, so I gave it a C+.
I enjoyed the match, and I actually gave this a B. I had fun with the match. I thoroughly always enjoyed the headbangers. I wish they would have been able to do more. Because sure, after it, one of them was Beaver Cleavage. I don't know if any of you remember Beaver Cleavage, but this was.
Mm-mm.
After the headbangers over, they none of them were around very much, and Furnace and LaFon, they pretty much disappeared. They never were anything in this. And the Godwins, this is when the Godwins were still tolerable, and of course, I love Hillbilly Jim. But this was just a good, fun, entertaining match. There wasn't a lot to it, but for the first match of WrestleMania, it did just fine. There didn't need to be a whole lot. They went out there, did their business, got out. Headbangers got the win. I was entertained. I enjoyed it. I would watch it again. There was no real dull moment for me. So I gave it a B. I enjoyed it.
All right. No problem. So we get the In Your House promo after that. And then, of course, Honky Tonk Man comes out and does his shtick with the crowd. WWF had a camera angle problem, I noticed, with this show. It's like a lot of stuff happening that we don't see because they're focusing on the wrong stuff. That happened quite a bit tonight. I'll talk about it more later. But the Intercontinental Championship, the Sultan. Who in the hell is the Sultan? I had never heard of this person in my life.
You heard of who he became?
Who is he? Because I'm really curious.
Rikishi.
That's
you don't know?
Rikishi.
That's Rikishi. Okay,
Rikishi.
because I was wondering. I'm like, okay, he looks. I feel like I'm gonna know who he is, and I know y'all would know. So now I just feel like an idiot.
Yeah, it's Rikishi.
But I dug it though. I like the entrance music. I like the outfit. I didn't really care for the boots, but everything else was cool.
That's iron cheek boots, man.
Didn't really care for the boots, but everything else was cool. I like the character. I thought it was a better version of what was it, Lord Tensai?
Oh, Prince Albert.
This was much better.
That's just terrible.
And this was, versus Rocky Maivia. I mean, this was different than what I'm used to seeing The Rock do. I'm not used to The Rock doing, dancing and shit. That was kind of different. But I thought this was actually a really good match. Like I said, this is where, we get the Mac Man and stuff, and, Honky Tonk Man going on about Rocky and the stuff he's doing. And, they're just hammering home the fact that he's a rookie. Did I hear a Rocky sucks chant at one point?
Back then, they hated him. This is during that time where when he's coming out, there's a sign right to the left that says, "Die, Rocky, die." I mean, he was hated at this point. This is what gave birth to The Rock, because he's a face, but everyone hated him. The crowd hated him.
I probably would have hated him too, because he looked like a damn idiot in this match. I just be real.
You should have
But
seen his original haircut.
I remember his original haircut when he debuted in the Madison Square Garden. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I remember. I do remember. Earl Hebner was the referee in this match, by the way. Uh, so Sultan hit that pile driver on the Rock, or Rocky Maivia, I guess I should say, and the Rock was able to, I see I did it again. I'm not gonna be able to get past it. I just have to call him the Rock. I was wondering if I was gonna struggle with that, and I am. But I thought these two had good chemistry, and now that I know it's Rikishi, it makes sense. They probably, knew what they were gonna do before the match even started. Iron Sheik was hilarious doing his shtick, I thought. So I guess the Rock's finishing move. See, I did it again. Rocky Maivia's finishing move back then was everybody's finishing move, I guess, was the splash off the top rope, and he hits it, but Sheik is up on the apron and distracts the ref, and then that's when the power driver occurs, and then Rocky is able to roll up Sultan for the win and retain his Intercontinental Championship. I gave the match a B. I thought bell to bell, it was a good match. Like I said, Sheik being there, the honky tonk man on commentary was hilarious to me. I guess I'll just talk about the post match right now instead of waiting. JR tried to, and this is what I didn't like during the night. JR trying to interview people after the matches, just kind of stupid. He tried to interview Rocky, but he gets attacked by the Sultan from behind, and then where in the hell did Bob Backlund come from, and why? There's something I'm missing and I don't understand. I don't know. They attack Rocky, and she puts him in the camel clutch, and then Rocky Johnson, the father, comes out to help his son, but then he gets attacked, and then Rocky gets up, fights everybody off. They both scoop slam Sheik, and then honestly, this post match, if I had to grade the post match for the simple fact that we lost Rocky this year, and to be able to this scene with these two, it was tough. I was like, wow, this is kind of a beautiful moment here, and so I would give the post match an A just for that fact, but the match overall itself just a B. Book, what'd you think?
I gave the match a C, middle of the road. It's not good when the guys at the table are more entertaining than what's going on in the ring, and the post match was better than the match. So when everything seems to be better than the match, I mean, it's not F, it's not anything like that, but it just was middle of the road. And when the crowd, you can tell, isn't really caring because they don't like Rocky Maivia, and they sure aren't going to root for the Sultan. That just makes it worse. But seeing the Sheik on the outside Sheik is just always gold. He's just, when I was a kid, I couldn't understand a word he said. And like Piper, as I've grown older, I can understand everything he says now. So so seeing the Sheik is always entertaining. Mr. Bob Backlund I never understood the shtick, but he makes me laugh. So
Can you explain his presence though?
Backlund, he had returned and he came back and he lost his mind and snapped, and his back then I think his move was the crossface chicken wing, and he actually had beaten Brett, I think it was, for the title, and this is how Owen really became a big time heel, was because of this. And Backlund lost it the next day to Diesel, but he just had snapped and just lost his mind, and this is kind of just that extension of that. He was just crazy running around talking about being president. Backlund was weird. It was weird.
I mean, I know it's the suit and everything. It just with everything else going on, then look up Bob Backlund's out there, and he's not even wearing his normal outfit, and it's just like, what's going on? But anyway, go ahead, Rob.
Wow, Mike really stole my thunder on this one. I gave it a C as well for basically the same reasons he did. I just didn't think the match was very good. The commentary and the post-match were the highlights, and that's not the way it should be. The match should be the highlight. Not that the match was horrible, it just wasn't as good as the two things I just talked about, the post-match and the commentary. But look, this is Rocky Maivia's early days. This is before The Rock. He just wasn't the dynamic performer, the most electrifying performer in history. He just wasn't that guy at the time. And I think that showed in this match. The Sultan, I mean, that character, I don't think even really made it over that big. The ring work was just average, so average grade. C.
Yeah, you're both right. I mean, and even as I talked about it, yeah, the post match was great, and that's what I remember from it. Even when I look at my notes, I'm like, I have more about the post match than I do about the match. So yeah, you're right. Y'all are right. Backstage promo with Ken Shamrock talking about the submission match that he was going to be the special guest referee. And I guess at a Raw taping, he was doing some submission moves and kind of demonstrating. I don't really know. And then we get the Hunter Hearst Helmsley promo with special guest China. This had to be one of her first appearances, I'm guessing, because they're still asking the questions of who is she? Is she your boss? She your bodyguard? Blah blah blah. Well, in real life, that was his girlfriend. Which, with a jaw like that, I don't know how you could see. Hey, teach their own. That's all I'm gonna say. Teach their own. But this next match, man, I had a hard time. And y'all might think I'm crazy, but well, let's just get into it. Hunter Hearst Helmsley with China versus Goldust with Marlena, aka Terry Runnels. But I was having a real hard time. They kept calling her Marlena. I'm like, no, I'm not blind. That's Terry. I know Terry when I see Terry. So, and I even looked it up just to make sure I wasn't crazy. And yes, that was her. Okay. But this match, Mike, you talked about the crowd being dead. They were fucking dead during this match, and so was I. I was bored to tears watching this match. There may have been 2 minutes in this whole match that they did some moves. And then at the end, when this is the only point in the match where the crowd woke up, and this is how you know. Because China walked over to Marlena, and that's when the crowd stood up and got back in and woke up. But then she just over there just doing this crap, shaking her around, and that's it. And then Triple H just the pedigree. I was bored. The crowd was noticeably bored. This match was awful. I mean, the match wasn't awful. I shouldn't say that, but I was not entertained at all. This is an F. Flat out. A hard F. Rob, go ahead.
Wow, okay. Nah, C minus for me. I agree that the match wasn't good. I just didn't think it was that bad. I did not think it was F territory. Look, Dustin Rhodes and Triple H, as we now know him, it should have been a great match. They just weren't those guys at this time, unfortunately for us as fans. It was one of China's early appearances, maybe her first pay-per-view. I'm not definite on that, but I believe this may have been her first appearance at a pay-per-view. And so the highlight really was her shaking Marlena. And that's not good. Yeah. There was one segment in the match, especially, Triple H had went up to the top rope and he was coming down. He I don't know what he was trying to do, but do you guys remember this? Goldust somehow threw his butt out so that it hit Triple H
Yes,
as he was diving down from the third rope.
Yes, this is the other reason. I forgot. This is the other reason it's an F. He hit a rear view on on Hunter Hearst Helmsley. That was the
Right.
movie. He hit a rear view.
Yeah.
That's
Right.
the other reason. Yes, thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah. So no, I'm with you. It wasn't a good match. I couldn't go F on it though, but I did go C-.
Yeah, I can't go F either, man. Honestly, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the match. I gave it a B. And so this was during that time where I was started, because I wasn't originally a Hunter Hearst Helmsley fan, but I could see he was starting to turn. He was starting to change, and I was starting to enjoy what he was becoming, because he was getting away slowly from that aristocratic. His gear had changed, his attitude was changing, and I was really starting to become a fan of Hunter Hearst Helmsley. And I've always been a China fan. I don't care about the jaw. I don't really care. I always was a fan of China. Rest in peace, Joni. And Goldust, I was a big fan of his as a heel. I didn't like him as a face. And at this point, he was a face. So I was starting to not like Goldust at this point. And Marlena, I just didn't care. I thought she was just wasting airspace. But the match, there was a couple of bad spots. I'm not saying the match was great by any means, but I was able to watch it. I was able to follow it. I was able to I was easily entertained. I didn't mind watching it again. If it was played in front of me again, I'd watch it again. I just wasn't a torturous experience for me. So far from an F for me, but I do see your points. I definitely see them, but I was able to sit past them and still be able to enjoy the match. A B.
I think I was just done once that man stuck his ass out once Triple H came off the top rope. I was like, yeah, done. Done. But I will say this next match brought me back to life, and I feel like it brought the crowd back to life. We get Mankind and Vader with Paul Bearer, which I never knew that was a thing either. So I'm getting a real education watching this pay-per-view versus Owen Hart and the British Bulldog. And okay, let me ask y'all. Like JR running up to interview British Bulldog and Owen while they're coming out to the ring, like unnecessary, right?
They're selling
It
the.
is, but I think.
Go ahead, Rob.
Well, basically, he did that. They could have done it in a video package, but he's just trying, I guess, to remind the live crowd, because anybody who's been watching wrestling knows that there's a little dissension between Davey Boy and Owen. Owen is trying to call himself the captain, be the leader of the team, and saying he's the brains of the team, kind of putting down Davey Boy. And so I think that's what JR was trying to do, just remind the live crowd about that.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, it looks and it comes off as far as presentation, comes off real sloppy. You got one mic and you're trying to get both guys' comments, and it looked like Vince told JR, get up, go and do this. Like, and that's probably what happened, to be honest with you. But that aside, I thought this match to this point in the card was the best match. And I thought the athleticism that Owen Hart showed, my respect for Owen Hart grew so much, and British Bulldog. Jesus, I mean, how strong was damn British Bulldog? I mean, it's one thing for him to vertical suplex Mick Foley. He picture perfect vertical suplex Vader like it wasn't shit. I was like, whoa.
Davey's always been a powerhouse.
Okay. I had to bow down after that. I was like, all right. Grade just shot up through the roof after that. But I liked how this match told a story with, one team is, high speed, fast paced, and then the other one is like big bruisers who want to go at the slow pace. And I just felt like when Owen Hart, I kind of thought it was kind of funny when Owen Hart tagged in. and he's hitting all those moves real fast paced, and Vader just hits him one time and just stops, just like in a brick wall. And then you know, I know Rob probably enjoyed seeing, you know, Stu and Helen ringside. Stu just sitting there like a statue. He just doesn't make any faces at all.
Lawler.
Oh, Lawler in his match was
Lawler was
crazy.
killing those two.
Yeah.
He always kills Stu. That was the best part.
The only bad thing I'd say about this match is just the finish. Kind of lazy. And it made me feel like, you know, the more things change, the more they stay the same, because we still to this day get finishes like this. You know, Mankind holding on to the Mandible Claw on the outside and the ref counting to 10, but you still got two guys in the ring. I thought it just didn't make sense to me. It didn't make sense to me. But at the end of the day, I gave the match a B plus. I thought it was at that point the best match on the card, and I hate that the first thing that comes to mind when I see the players in the match is the fact that out of everybody participating, minus the ref, only one person is alive. One.
Yep.
And that is a hard pill to swallow. But at the end of the day, I just have to appreciate the work that all the men did in the ring. And the other pill that's hard to swallow is that all the ones that are not here are not in the Hall of Fame, and they should be. So, Book, go ahead.
Yep, I was going to mention that. Rest in peace. Almost everybody in this match is we've lost, and you know, I was growing up with Davey Boy because the British Bulldogs were one of my all-time favorite tag teams back in the day. You know, when Rob's the one that got me into wrestling. We would have our little arguments because he was Heart Foundation and I was the British Bulldogs, so we would always kind of jokingly have our little spats about that. So, Davey Boy is just one of the all-time best, and seeing him and Owen, who I wasn't a big Brett fan, and because I wasn't a Brett fan, I became an Owen fan. So it's always great to see Owen. This was definitely an entertaining match. I had it at B until that ending. The ending,
Yeah, the ending was terrible.
The ending was weak. It was, and I thought it then. I still think it now. And so it lowered it down, not terribly bad, but it lowered it to a B minus. The ending was just too weak and too stupid. And I think they were trying to play somehow to Davey Boy just being the meathead, the dummy. And it's like, I just didn't like that they were doing that. And this match could have been a lot better. It was definitely going toward probably a B plus territory for me, but the ending just screwed it all up. But B minus, but rest in peace to Owen, Davey Boy, rest in peace to Vader, rest in peace Paul Bearer. It's sad watching these old pay-per-views and just seeing just how many people we've done lost.
Yep.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with that more. Vader, definite Hall of Famer. I don't know why he's not there yet. Owen, unfortunately, it's a thing with his ex-wife. I'm hoping that, like the Macho Man situation, eventually it gets resolved just for the sake of Owen. The fans want it. He deserves it. I hope they work that out. The match itself, I gave it a B. Like Mike, I hated the ending, and I almost lowered the grade for that. But I was so entertained by the match that the ending didn't change the grade for me. Even though I didn't like the ending, I enjoyed the match so much, I didn't let the ending affect my grade. We all knew Owen could go, and I thought this was a good showcase for the British Bulldog. I don't know if people talk about him enough when we talk about the Hart family and the extension of the Hart family. I mean, Davey Boy is right in there, and him and Dynamite Kid, even though you and I had that rivalry, Mike, between Hart Foundation and the British Bulldogs, that doesn't take away from the fact that they were a dynamic tag team. The power of Davey Boy and the speed and agility of Dynamite Kid, they were just spectacular. And just as an aside here, SummerSlam 92, main event, Bret Hart versus Davey Boy Smith at Wembley Stadium. If you don't do anything else, at least watch that one match. The whole card is good, but watch that one match. It's spectacular. So it was good to see all of these guys, but like you both said, sad because with the exception of Foley, they're all gone, you know? So it's bittersweet, but I thought this was a very entertaining match. Solid B for me.
Yep. I knew that was gonna pull all our heartstrings, and you know, out of all of them, though, I think maybe you all would agree. I think Owen hurts the most because of the tragedy that surrounds it, and I think one day down the line, and this is gonna sound terrible, but I think maybe once Vince McMahon is either no longer working with the company
He's dead.
or well, I didn't want to say it like that, but
Well,
okay, yes.
It's the truth.
Once he's gone, maybe. Yeah, I think that's really what Martha's hangup is she blames him for so many reasons. And we can get long-winded about the whole Owen Hart controversy, but that's for another podcast. And then
Here
we
we
get
go.
the freaking best match on the card. And I've heard this throughout the years. You gotta seek out this match. Bret Hart versus Stone Cold Steve Austin. You gotta seek it out. There's actually an episode on Stone Cold's individual podcast, not the WWE Network one, his own podcast, where he breaks down. I think Bret's on the show too. They break down the match of the psychology of how they put the match together. And the only reason I didn't listen to it because I hadn't watched it in its entirety. So I wanted to do that first. So now I'm going to go back and listen to that show and get the psychology, because I got to say, this was like brilliance as far as wrestling. This match would hold up today. If these two somehow go in a time machine and they would go on a WWE pay-per-view right now and this was the main event, it would hold up and it would get an A. Straight up. Because it was just so well done. Now, before I get to the match, Ken Shamrock looked like damn Phil Heath up there, all big and shit. I mean, he was like, you can't tell me he wasn't roiding at the time. My God.
Oh, he's a notorious roider.
He was humongous. I'm like, I've never seen you that big, dude. Come on now. Even at SummerSlam 99 that y'all went to, he wasn't that big.
Yeah, he was notorious. He was constantly getting caught for stuff. He still does.
But he wasn't the only one back. I mean, he wasn't the only one.
No.
For WWF.
But he looked like a cartoon character. You see those arms and those quads? I'm like, come on, man.
This was Vince. Vince obviously told Ken, here, this shirt's probably like 2 sizes too small.
3 sizes too small.
to accentuate your muscles. Because Vince does that when he does referee. I mean, that's just Vince. That you could tell that was something that Vince had.
Oh, man. In any event, match starts right away. Austin tackling Bret, and then the men fight all the way out to the crowd. Fight on the outside, but then they make their way to the crowd, and all that was good. A match is going good if it ends up in the crowd right away, in my opinion. And then but the thing I noticed when they got close to like the risers, you could see the one fan with the
Drunk.
NWO shirt. Did you see the fan?
Yeah, I saw him.
Yeah, like, well, that wouldn't happen today because they wouldn't get in the building with that on. If it was AEW, and then so they fight back to the ring, and then Bret Hart starts working on Austin's knees. And then we get the figure 4 into the ring post. That must have been like not done as much back then, because when they did this, the crowd went nuts. Like they had never seen it before. So it must have been a rarity, or maybe it's something, not done as often, so to speak. And then Bret puts Austin's ankle in a steel chair, but then he counters, gets out of it, hits Brett in the head, hits Brett in the back, and then Austin puts on the Boston Crab, aka the Walls of Jericho, for those listening. And then Stone Cold acts like he's gonna go for a sharpshooter, but Bret Hart rakes the eyes to stop it. And then Hart, when they're fighting on the outside, sends Austin headfirst into the steel guardrail, and he gets busted open. And then Austin oh my God. So the sequence in the ring where Stone Cold sent Bret Hart into the turnbuckle chest first, like that was tough. That was shoot hardcore. I mean, he didn't start trying to block it or nothing. I'm like, you could break your sternum doing that, dude. You gotta be careful. And then Austin had the freaking extension cord wrapped around Bret Hart's neck, choking him, but then the hitman hits him in the head with the ring bell. And then that, of course, leads to the infamous sharpshooter and the camera shot with Austin refusing to tap out and the blood dripping down his head. And he eventually passes out, and Ken Shamrock calls the match off. Seriously, go back and seek out this match if you've never seen it. It's fantastic the way they put it together. And get into the post-match, Bret Hart attacks Austin's knees again, but then Ken Shamrock's having none of it, and he, throws Bret Hart and tells him, "No, we're not doing that." And Bret Hart backs off like the cowardly heel and goes to the back. That, to me, is the thing that is missing from wrestling today. It's the art of coming into this match. Stone Cold Steve Austin was the heel. Bret Hart was the babyface. When this match was done, they flipped it. They turned the crowd in a way that wasn't like forced, I guess is the best way I can put it. They did it in a way where it felt natural. And that is so missing from today's wrestling. It's an art form. This match is an A all the way. It's the best match on the whole card. It's what this card is known for. And I can attest now to say that, yes, it is true. So.
Okay, well, give me some leeway here. This is one of my favorite matches of all time. Everybody knows I'm a Bret Hart fan. What I love about this match is this was the culmination of a story that went on for a year or more. And I don't think it's hyperbole to say this is one of the greatest stories told in wrestling. And when you tell a great story and you have great characters like Bret Hart and like Stone Cold central to that story, and they build up to this rivalry, they have this angry, violent rivalry, and then they finally get to a match, and then the match explodes in the fashion that this one exploded. It's everything that you can want from beginning to end. And that's what this was. Stone Cold had won the 96 King of the Ring. Bret was gone at this time. I can't remember if it was for injury or what it was, but obviously Bret was going to be coming back because Stone Cold started calling him out, bashing the Hitman. And Stone Cold was a heel, but he had a fan base of people who did like him. Bret at this time was straight face. So fast forward to this match, Stone Cold is starting to kind of grow his fan base a little bit. Bret Hart is starting to lose his a little bit, but he still has a really big fan base. By the time these two come together, it's just like it's like fire and gas coming together. And from the moment before the bell even rang, Stone Cold diving right after Bret. This wasn't a match, it was a fight. They fought inside the ring. They fought outside the ring, out into the audience, crowd going wild. They bring it back in. Bret starts working Stone Cold's left leg, where he was wearing the brace on that. All part of telling this great story. And when it looks like Bret might have Stone Cold beat, Stone Cold comes fighting back again. And then we get that iconic moment in wrestling history where Stone Cold Bret Hart finally has him in the sharpshooter. Stone Cold's bleeding, and you get that image of Stone Cold just refusing to give up, blood dripping down his face, angry look on his face. That is one of the most single iconic images in all of wrestling. And then when you look at the effects that this match had on each of their careers, the trajectory that each of their careers took, Bret would go on to be one of the biggest heels. He would leave the company. We all know about the Montreal screw job and everything that happened with that. He would go to WCW. His career really would just kind of not be so great at that point. Stone Cold already building a fan base. By the time this match is over, his legend, this wasn't the first step in Stone Cold building his legend, but it was the most significant. After this match, Stone Cold would go on to become the biggest wrestling star ever. If this storyline and this match doesn't happen this way and isn't so spectacular, I don't know if Stone Cold, I don't know if we're talking about him in the same way that we are now. I can't say enough about this match and all of the rippling effects it had outside of the ring. One of the greatest stories ever told, culminating in one of the greatest matches ever. What more could you ask for? To me, that's an A+ all the way.
Wow. Well, it's kind of hard for me to say anything. You two have brilliantly said everything that can possibly be said. This is definitely an A+ match. No doubts on that. Always was then, was yesterday, was today, and will be 15, 20, 30 years from now. This is just a legendary match. And with both sides, like Rob said, hopefully I got a little leeway here too, because you can't just go quick on this, even though we need to. Austin, at this point, there were several levels to his rise, and Mr. Rob mentioned one of them, King of the Ring. He walked into that event, the heel. The sympathy win was supposed to be Jake Roberts, and Stone Cold completely stole all that thunder, and that was the birthplace, of course, of Austin 3:16 says, "I just whipped your ass," and he's challenging Bret, and for the most of that feud in the beginning, Bret's beating him. Austin's not even winning these matches, but his stock is rising and rising and rising. Proof that you don't always have to win a match to get over with the fans. They were enjoying the journey of seeing Austin, knowing that someday, somewhere down the line, he's going to get Bret. And at this point, I was Austin, and I thought this was the night. I thought he's going to finally get Bret. And after the match was over, I think you and I, Rob, back in the day, we used to have little arguments like, well, Austin didn't really quit. He didn't really lose. So Bret never won the match, which, we were just always joking around with it, but we enjoyed the match. So we could have the fun little debate, but it didn't take away from the match. The crowd, scene-stealing WrestleMania matches started, you can almost say, with Ricky the Dragon Steamboat and Savage. And this is right there with them as far as scene stealing, right there with Shawn Michaels and Chris Jericho. These are the matches you think of that should be main events. They're not, but they steal the entire show. And this was just an awesome match. Crowd could not be more into it. When Bret was going on the top rope and he was going to stomp on Austin, who had the chair around him, his leg. When Austin got up, the crowd just blew up when he hit him with that chair. The crowd lit up. And I always remember JR, he swung that chair like Albert Bell. I mean, and then the thunderous chair shot he did to him right when Bret's on the ground. I mean, that is one of the hardest damn chair shots I've ever seen. There was no holding off on that chair shot. These two clearly respected each other. Bret said it many times. His respect for Austin was early on in Austin's career. He said, anytime you want to work together, I will work with you. So he saw something in Austin long before a lot of other people did. And this was, I think, Bret Hart saying, hey, look, man, I think Bret knew where this was going, that Austin is going to be the guy. And he's like, I don't mind. I will sell for this guy. I will do everything for this guy that he wouldn't do for Shawn, obviously, but he was going to do it for Stone Cold. And that just speaks of the respect that those two had for each other. Even though you looked at it, they hated each other in the ring. You knew outside these two are obviously completely cool with each other. And it led to an awesome, memorable match, Hall of Fame match. I don't know if the Hall of Fame will ever do Hall of Fame induction matches, but this would be one of the first ones you should put in there because everything about it is epic. It just rose, and never went down. A+ is not enough for a match like this, but it's as high as we can go. So A+.
Yeah, I mean, if you all haven't seen it yet, Stone Cold's episode with Bret Hart, definitely suggest. I can't recommend that one enough either. They talk about the match a little bit, and Bret Hart's whole thing was, we can always do whatever, just don't hurt me. That was his biggest thing, but I think he was too hung up on that. At the end of the day, you gotta look at the business that you're in. It's like saying I'm gonna go play football but don't hurt me. I'm gonna play running back and quarterback, but hit me, but don't hurt me. It don't work that way. At the end of the day, I think that's why Brock Lesnar to me is probably one of the best at what he does, because not only can he look like a beast, Brock Lesnar has the ability to sell better. He doesn't get the credit he deserves for selling, because when he wants to sell for you, he can.
There's the thing. When he wants to. That's the problem.
Really, he only shit on Dean Ambrose because he didn't like him. If he doesn't like you, he's not going to sell for you. If he likes you, he will make you look like $1 million. Even if he's going to beat you, he will still make you look like $1 million at the end of the day. And I think that's not easy to do, especially when you're somebody his size. So while I agree with Bret Hart, you shouldn't go around hurting people if you have a hurting tendency. Nah, Jax. You definitely should be, either it needs to be called to attention, or maybe you need to seek out a different career. I don't know.
I was about to say something, but I decided not to.
I'm just saying, she's hurt more people than any wrestler I've ever heard of.
Yeah, she's dangerous.
See, and I think that's what Bret's talking about. Obviously, you're in a business where injuries are going to happen, but if it's habitual and it's from carelessness, then you're not showing respect for the business or for your opponents. And I think that's what Bret's talking about.
Yeah, anybody that Bret feels is a threat in the ring, he always rips them, and he just does. That's just Bret being Bret. I mean, is it petty? Yeah. I don't think it's petty, but he just doesn't want to get hurt, and that's respectable. I can respect that.
He is right about one thing, and this is how I can sum it up the best way. The whole, and people ask me why do I watch it and everything. It is the art of putting on an entertaining show without hurting the person you're in the ring with. That's the goal. Now, if you two decide before the match that, hey, we're going to go a little stiff, then that's between you and that performer. But the overall goal and the goal of the art is to go out there, put on a show, but we all get to walk, we all get to go home without being in an ambulance. And after that, I don't know how y'all feel about this next match, but I know Book's gonna have a sweet spot for Legion of Doom, which I enjoyed them, but man, I wanted to love this match and I didn't, and it hurts. The Nation of Domination versus Ahmed Johnson and Legion of Doom. I have so many problems with this match, but and it starts with the fact that there was so much, and this is what I was talking about with the camera angles. There was so much going on that the producers didn't know who the hell to tell the camera guys or the people in the truck to focus on, because there were so many spots in this match that got missed because they're just not pointing the cameras in the right position. Like the spot toward the end of the match when Farouk's on the top turnbuckle and he gets flung off by Animal, but you don't see it because they're focusing on some bullshit. And the overuse of the fire hydrant or the fire extinguisher, and let's be real. The spots in this match were terrible. Ahmed Johnson, man, their ring gear he looks like he's about to go to a freaking.
Don't say it. Don't say it. I know what you want to say. Do not say it. Don't say it.
Man.
Don't say it. Don't say it.
He looks like he needs a blindfold and a whip in his hand.
Oh, man. I knew you were going to.
Oh, my God. And, okay. They went for it with this match. I will say the effort was there, but the execution was absolutely atrocious. That power driver that I think it was Animal to try to put on Farouk on that table on the outside, that was absolute shit. Oh my God. First of all, Farouk acted like he didn't want to do it because it took 2 or 3 attempts to get him up.
Because he didn't want to do it.
and then when they finally did it, it was the softest landing you've ever seen in your life. Man, I couldn't keep up. And then what the hell was D'Lo Brown? D'Lo Brown out there looking like he's trying to sell bean pies. I don't know what's going on.
Before the chest plate, D'Lo, man. He didn't even have a name then, really.
Domination, you know that. You know what they're.
I know what they're about, and I know what they're referencing. I know, but I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna put that to the side because all these other guys behind Farouk, and it's like he's Farrakhan and he got his followers. Okay, fine, but the execution is my problem. And this match, I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry, was ugly as hell.
Oh, man.
This was trash, and I just could not get with it. I tried. I was like, no, give it a chance, and then there'll be some more shit. And it's not even just with the match. Like I said, it's the producing. Like you got. There's spots being done and y'all not catching it. I'm out. Ugly as hell. Rob, just tell me something. I don't know. Maybe something I missed. But I could not get with this. I tried.
Maybe I missed something because I enjoyed this a hell of a lot more than you did. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that this was no great technical match or anything, but the problem you've got to follow what we just saw with Stone Cold and Bret Hart. So, you're in Chicago, so okay, you have a Chicago street fight, and you have all these big guys come out, and yeah, man, like you said, to me the problem was look, there were some bad spots. I was going to mention the one you already mentioned about Animal and Farouk on the table. That was just a disaster. That never should have happened. Shouldn't have even tried that. But I think there were a lot of good things going on, like you said, that the camera just didn't catch. Now, I'm not a big fan of fire extinguishers, but you know what? The live crowd is. And how many times have we seen, whether it's a ladies match or a mid-carder, 2 mid-carders coming in following an epic match? Well, I thought that this was a good move to put on a match that would still engage the crowd, even though it wasn't a great technical match. You had garbage can lids, you had chairs, you had all these big guys throwing punches and just fight. It was a street fight. It's what they build it as. So from that standpoint, I gave it a B minus because I felt like even though it, like you, I agree the execution wasn't that great. I still thought the entertainment value enough, especially on the heels of what we had just seen, was good enough.
Well, this is obviously rest in peace to my team, the Legion of Doom, Road Warriors, Animal and Hawk. To me, the greatest tag team there has ever been and will ever be. And you may think I'm crazy, but I don't care because this is how I feel. I gave it an A plus. I love this match.
Oh,
I have always loved this match.
wow.
Always have I loved the Chicago street fight match. Did the cameras miss stuff? Yeah. I mean, the Farouk flying off the top.
Okay,
You saw it in
hold
the back.
on.
Oh,
Hold on.
Go
Hold
ahead.
on.
Go
Hold
ahead.
on.
Go
Hold on.
ahead. Go ahead.
There's one reason why I have a problem with your grade. Only one.
Here we go.
You like that shit. You gave the WCW hardcore match on Spring Stampede an F, and that
It
match
was a
was
snore
better
fest.
than this shit.
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't.
Okay.
That
All
was
right,
that was hurried, rush, and ill
It
prepared.
was it was hurried. It was hurried.
It was hurried,
No
rushed, ill
argument there.
prepared. It was PG. No.
But go ahead. I'm sorry.
You're fine, man. You're fine. But this is Chicago street fight. It's hard to follow when in the history of wrestling when there's just a super match like we had with Brett and Austin. The next match at one point became Divas and it became the match that's going to suck. And they brought this match into this, and I'm like, at first, yeah, I was nervous that this was going to be a stinker, but they were able to keep the crowd's attention, which is hard to do after matches like we saw with Brett and Austin. Usually, the crowd dies out. Were they as loud? No, but they were still present. So, big time credit to them. Ahmed. I wasn't going to say it, but that outfit was always atrocious that he wore, and it would ride up way too often. And just, it was just it was kind of gross. It was just gross. And the Nation of Domination, this is my favorite Nation of Domination. I didn't like the one that The Rock led. I hated the change that they did. I preferred the Farouk one. My dad, who is not a professional wrestling fan, was a fan of the Nation of Domination. Now, part of that was just because of Ron Simmons, Farouk, because he remembers Ron Simmons from football, but he loved the Nation of Domination just because of Farouk. Crush before he went and broke up and had his little gang. Savio Vega before he left and had his little gang. It was nice seeing Clarence Mason again. D'Lo Brown before he became D'Lo Brown and having the vest that he always had those pec injuries. But this was just a great brawl, and that's what I wanted. I just wanted a brawl. They went out there, they brawled. The table with Animal was, that is atrocious. No apology. I'm not going to defend that one damn bit. That definitely was just nasty. That was ugly. But I enjoyed this match. I enjoyed it front to back. It is one of the matches I always remember, and I was excited when I was going to be able to watch this match again. I can watch that match any time, and I am not disappointed. So for me, solid A plus. Don't regret it one bit. I will watch that and thoroughly enjoy it every single time. And once again, rest in peace, Animal and Hawk.
Well, I'm never gonna be wanting to tell people that what they enjoy is wrong. So let me just leave with that. If you enjoyed it, it gives you pleasure, all good. I'm happy for you. It just did not do that for me. And I tried to like it. Tried again. I tried again. And damn, man, you talk about people. I don't want to say he was on it, but damn, Ron Simmons wasn't exactly small either. He was freaking huge.
The Hurt Business could learn something from the Nation. That's how you're supposed to be. That's how you're supposed to be. He's a big tough black group, not the bitches that we've been seeing lately.
But I don't think you can do. I think, and you mentioned this on the prior podcast. I think because of the climate we live in now,
Yep.
you couldn't do
Oh
what
no,
they did.
I'm not asking them to do exactly as the nation did. You can't, because if you really look back to the things they were saying, oh no, you can't get away with that now.
No, I mean
But
even with this match, that demonstration, and them coming out, and you got. I joked about it, but literally, it was like I was waiting for Minister Farrakhan to walk out. Seriously.
But there's stuff they could do with the Hurt Business to at least make them
yeah.
credible. That's the thing. They can make
they're
them
already
credible.
They're already starting to hint with dissension with Cedric, and it's just like, damn, y'all just started, and y'all just now starting to gain traction. Like, this is why I hate the current WWE product. It's like, oh, we got something good, let's tear it down. And while I know you don't like the New Day because of the singing and the dancing, I do like the fact they kept those brothers together. And that's probably the one thing I can say. No matter what they were doing, even now that they're on two different shows, they kept those brothers together. They didn't ever had them turn on each other. None of that. As much as we wanted Big E to turn heel and go his own way, I'm actually glad they didn't do that, because there's so much of that in the real world that I think seeing brothers united, no matter what, is something to teach the kids in the next generation. So I appreciate that. And it's not enough of that. So when I see the Hurt Business that's been around for just a few months and already they're having problems, it's like, but WWE has done that with a lot of factions. And it's just like that. I mean, damn, they have forgotten how to tell a story. If nothing else I've learned from watching this pay-per-view is even the worst match on here told stories, and I felt like they gave every match. This pay-per-view has 7 matches, so every match got time. And I can't say I can appreciate that, because that says we care about every single thing that we're putting on this card. When you go from 7 matches to damn 16 at WrestleMania 35, that is outlandish.
Well,
there's no way you can care about 16 matches. It's impossible to care about 16 matches. You're just throwing shit on here. And as Rob and I used to talk about this all the time, everybody ain't gonna make it, and that's to tell you need to step your game up. If you're giving everybody, this whole new thing about the participation award, oh, you showed up, so let's give you something for that. No, get over. How about that? How about you get over? How about you book? How about you sell out an arena? How about you do that? How about you sell merchandise? And then we'll put you on the card. But I'm not going to put you on the damn card if you ain't doing shit.
This was around the time that WWF was starting to build its soldiers for the eventual war that was to come on Monday nights. You could see the soldiers were starting to get decided. Austin stake is starting to rise. Few months, you'd start to see The Rock finally start to show up. Taker, you were starting to see pieces start to come into place for this initial war that we were going to have with the Monday Night Wars. And this was the beginning of a great time, definitely in wrestling. This was the start of a very good time. Whether you're WCW or you're WWF to become WWE, this was the beginning of a great time in wrestling history. We won't get this again.
No. And I just had to get that off my chest because it just bugs the crap out of me. Because the booking nowadays makes absolutely no sense. It's not linear. It makes no sense. They don't need 25, 30 writers. Just back then they had 3 or 4. Now you've got show me. You have to have a conference call or these meetings, these town hall meetings, to decide on one match. It makes no sense. And yes, I know there's the argument that Vince would change everything on a dime, and he probably did it back then too. It's probably just more noticeable now because we have the internet and we have insights and we got the dirt sheets and all that stuff, so we know more. But I'm sure he was doing it back then too.
I think he was just more in tune with the business back then than he is now.
He definitely was more in tune.
He's out of tune now.
Yeah, and he knew how to keep himself fresh. Like he went from not being on TV to being on commentary / being an announcer to being in storylines as a heel, and he knew how to keep it fresh. Once he ran out of ideas for himself, it seems like once he ran out of ideas for himself, he didn't know how to write for anybody else either.
This is why I love third generation wrestling. When we get to these discussions, this I love. I love these. I love these.
It's that's how you know you're passionate about something, man.
Definitely.
All right. So we get to the WWF Championship match. And Rob, I'm going to have to call you out here because I know Bret Hart's your guy. But I got to say, man, this was like overkill. Not like overkill. It was overkill. I mean, damn, dude. They do the introductions. Here comes Bret Hart. They start wrestling. Here comes Bret Hart again, and here comes Bret Hart again. Oh my God! Go away! Can we just have this match? I just want the match.
I can't disagree. I love Bret, but I can't disagree.
I mean, it comes out, he's talking shit, and then he gets powerbombed for his troubles. See you later. And then he comes out again. He hits Sid Vicious with the steel chair, and he gets carried out again. And he comes out again. He distracts Sid again. Like, oh my God. I mean, the match was the match a barn burner? No. But was it bad? No. So, and I just kept getting distracted. I'm like, oh, damn, here he comes again. It's like, what? This is like WCW security y'all got going on here. What the hell? Obviously, going to the match, I know who's going to win because of the streak. But, I was more of a Psycho Sid fan. And then I probably because I forgot how stiff he was. Because my God, I mean, when you talk about stiff workers, she's got to be in the top 5 discussion. And I mean, not that he didn't do terrible, but it's just like when moves are being done, spots are being called, I just feel like he looks like he's waiting for something to happen or he's trying to save himself from being hurt versus where the Undertaker was like going balls to the walls with his moves. And then Sid felt like he was being more reserved. I guess that's the best way I could put it. But in the end, I tried to stay focused on those two, but I couldn't because Bret Hart kept coming out. I don't know. I did like the fact that Undertaker went for the tombstone and he flipped it and Sid hit one of his own. And, that's when, of course, one of the times Bret came out. But the right man won either way. Taker hitting the tombstone on Sid. And I'm pretty sure, I mean, y'all probably know, did they have a match in your house next month or in the following months they had a match? No? Then what the hell was the point?
Cold day in hell. It would be a cold day in hell. Taker was going to face Austin.
No, I mean, did Sid Vicious face Bret Hart?
Sid disappeared. Sid wasn't around much longer after this. He eventually left and went back to WCW. He was not around very long after this.
And see, this goes back to what I was just talking about. With Vince, this looked like a Vince thing. But in any event, I gave the whole thing a B minus. It probably would just got a straight up B or B plus even if Bret Hart would have just chilled out, took his power bomb the first time maybe, and just left. But we just kept getting Bret Hart, and it was getting annoying. And I was like, "Go away, stop!" They wouldn't stop, so B minus. I enjoyed the Taker, the infamous. This one's in a lot of video packages too. When Taker wins the WWE Championship and you get the shot with the pose and the purple lighting. I'm glad he ditched those damn ridiculous gloves and those whatever he puts on his boot, wherever he put on his boots back then. I'm glad he ditched all that shit because it looked ridiculous. But yeah, right guy won. Book, you're a Taker guy. What'd you think?
Back then, of course, Taker, other than Piper, I mean, Taker was just the guy. So this was a big emotional pay-per-view for me, just because my guy, he'd been WWF champion before, but in so many ways it doesn't count because it was a little reign. He only had it for like a day or two. He beat Hogan, which I still love the fact that he did that, but it didn't count. It was something minuscule. It was one of those 2-day reigns. For me, this is I shouldn't give it this grade, and there's probably a little bit of emotion in there, but I did enjoy the match too. This was another A+ for me. And a lot of it is just simply the fact that it was Taker getting the belt finally. And it was just a culmination, finally seeing that guy get the belt. Because to me, he should have had it already. And you mentioned the streak. If you look back at it, he's probably going to win because of the streak. But back then, the streak wasn't even a word yet for attached to Undertaker. Nobody knew that was even happening. Taker even says at the time, didn't know that was really a thing yet. Sid, is he a stiff worker? He's definitely a stiff worker. But he's one of those people that's believable. It's just believable violence. You believe what he does in there. Brock's a lot better at it, obviously, but it's a little bit of that Brock in there. Bret Hart. Again, wasn't a Bret Hart fan. I thoroughly enjoyed the power bomb. I just couldn't stop laughing. I had to rewind that thing about 3 or 4 times because it was just hysterical, him getting power bombed. And I loved Sid's power bomb. Sid thumped you with that power bomb, and he thumped Bret with it real good. He thumped him good. So I enjoyed it.
I like Sid's power bomb even better than Kevin Nash's.
Oh yeah, he does a way better power bomb. And hearing Shawn Michaels, who again, I'm not a Shawn Michaels fan on his own. I respect him, but hearing him cackling outside and everything, and Sid grabbing the mic, you take your whited ass out of here. I was enjoying the whole thing. I'm sorry, Rob, but that always cracks me up when Bret gets power bombed. The match, it's 2 big guys going at each other. I mean, Sid, you're not going to get technique, but with what he can do, he's able to do it very well. Looking back, I get nervous when Sid is standing on top of a rope. And for those who remember what he did in WCW, you should know exactly why I get nervous when he stands on the top of a rope, because he did it before, did a boot and broke his damn leg. But this was a good match. I was thoroughly entertained. Did Bret need to come out the second time? No. But they were obviously selling this thing between him and Sid. The third time was just a bit much. That was, at this point, it was ridiculous. He didn't need to come out a third time. But the right guy won. Taker won. The celebration of him on his knee holding up the belt is an iconic image. One of the most iconic images attached to The Undertaker. Right there next to when he's walking down the aisle. And for the same match, you see that silhouette in the smoke. Beautiful sight. Again, maybe it's the Homer in me, but this was a big deal for me, seeing Taker finally win that belt. And it was just emotional now in some ways as it was then, because of Taker retiring, and I'm putting that in quotes. So I gave it an A plus, man. I gave it an A plus.
Well, yeah. Wow, 3 A pluses from Mike. That's got to be a record for one card. Me, I could not go A plus. I went C plus. I've said this a lot about the bigger guys. They just technically they just can't bring it. And even though I know Taker's a good worker, and I'm a Sid fan too, I was looking forward to this match when it was announced. But it was just kind of slow moving and plodding in the beginning. Later on in the match, and look, I love Brett, but come on, 3 interruptions in one match. I could see 1, 2 at the absolute most, but I think you're pushing it with 2, 3. You've just gone over the top, and you're really messing with the flow of the match. And to me, the flow of the match wasn't that great to begin with. Yeah, just the match didn't engage me. There wasn't really any drama. The work just wasn't good. And you see that a lot, like I said, with these matches with these big guys. Most of the great matches, when I talk about the greatest matches I've seen, it always involves 2 smaller guys or at least 1 smaller guy. I can't really think of a great match off the top of my head that involves 2 big guys. They just don't work that way. And I'm more of a technical fan. Those are the matches that really, really engage me. Even though we just talked about Stone Cold and Bret Hart, and even though that wasn't really technical, it was a fight. Like I said, I think the way the match flowed was the way it had to because of the storyline that built up to it. This match was just a disappointment. You know, when you have 2 big guys like this, I expected there to be a little bit more, I guess, violence, for lack of a better word. I thought they'd be going at each other a little harder, but no, it was just slow. The pacing of it was just not good for me. Now, at the end, Eric, you talked about the sequence where Sid went for the tombstone, and all of that was pretty good. But by then, Bret Hart had already come in 2 or 3 times, and I'm like,
Yeah,
kind of out of the match at that point.
yeah.
Like you, I already Taker was winning. I tried to put myself in that moment back when Mike and I were watching it live at Billy Joe's Picture Show when I didn't know Taker was going to win, and I wanted him to win so badly, but I just couldn't because I knew he was going to win. So I think that's affecting my grade a little bit because I even though I didn't remember how the match went, I remembered the result. And so the fact that the match wasn't that good and the result was already predictable for me, I think is taking my grade down. But C plus is all I can go.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because I think y'all will agree with me when you have affection for the characters and what they they gave you the feel, so you want to grade them higher. But at the end of the day, what we do on here on this podcast, we keep it real, and that's what I try to do. Even when I give people Fs and ugly as hells, and I'm sure Book feels the same way, except for one person. Doesn't mean we don't like them necessarily. It's just that at that point in time or that match, it didn't do it. Like, okay, it doesn't mean I don't like Farouk. Farouk is Ron Simmons. I mentioned him in my WCW countdown. Ron Simmons broke the barrier. He broke down the barrier for black wrestlers. This just wasn't a good, in my opinion, wasn't a good match. It wasn't done well. And Triple H, the Game, the Cerebral Assassin, one of my favorites of all time, probably one of the greatest heels of all time. Goldust, still wrestling to this day. I mean, he the dude's in his 50s wrestling now, and he doesn't miss a step even now. So I mean, it's not necessarily that I have a problem with the performer. It's just the match itself. I know we're running a little long here, so we're probably gonna have to wrap things up. Make sure you follow us on social media, Third Generation Wrestling Podcast, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And make sure you always want to shout out MJ Book on the Countdown Podcast 2020. I will be, myself and Rob have been guests on there, as well as good brother Blake. And I will be on there again soon doing another countdown. Can't wait for that one because I kind of influenced that one. So I'm a little proud of that one. But gave MJ Book a headache at the same time. So
Big headache.
What it is.
Big headache.
It is what it is. Well, we thank you all for listening, and we thank. I think Book, you had a friend that suggested this show. I don't know if you want to say a few words.
Oh, Jennifer, thank you. She didn't. She just told me she's this is her favorite wrestling pay-per-view is WrestleMania 13. It's the one she always talks about with me when I'm talking to her. So she wanted this one. She wanted us to see what we would say, and hopefully she enjoys it. This one was for you, Jennifer.
Well, thank you, Jennifer, and we appreciate it. And we appreciate all the listeners. We appreciate people asking us to review these shows, and it's always fun. It's always a good time. Mr. Rob, what you got?
Always want to thank the listeners. Thank you, Jennifer. This was a nice show to go back and look at. One of my favorite matches of all time, so I appreciate that. Rest of you listeners, hey, let's continue to hear from you. We appreciate y'all.
Yep, everybody out there, stay safe. Stay at home when you don't have to go out. Wash your hands. Take care of your loved ones. Let's beat this COVID thing. Let's get back to life as we know it. So we at 3GW can get back to live events and coverage like we were doing before all this happened. We thank you. We love you. Take care.